The Doctor of War reaches his destiny. Personally, I cannot wait for a resurrection, a revelation, maybe a remembrance, possibly an evolution, but we don't talk about that here. Hello and welcome back to a Madman Big Finish review, the series where I review some of the latest Big Finish releases. As you can see, I have my co-host, Professor Pixel here, because
Hello?
we promised to do this because we are here to talk about Doctor of War Destiny, the second and last box set of the Doctor Who Unbound Doctor of War series. It's quite a mouthful. Seeing all the semicolons in that title, it's like Doctor Who, semicolon, Unbound, semicolon, Doctor of War 2, semicolon, Destiny.
Yeah, no, that's too many semicolons.
Yeah. So, as with the previous box set, it's comprised of 3 stories. I'd say we would both kind of had some big expectations with this, considering how much we liked the previous one. And much like with that one, we are going to go into spoilers for this one, unlike my previous reviews where I try to keep it as minimal as possible with key details, because we do really want to talk about a lot of the things in these stories, except for maybe one, but we'll get to it. So as always, we're starting off with our first story. Who am I? Who am I? This has nothing to do with the Eighth Doctor. Who Am I by Nigel Fairs. What were your thoughts on this story? Because it is a familiar story with a twist.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and just say that when I heard Leela was going to be in this, I was very surprised. I was like, how are they going to work that in? I didn't realize they were going to just put the episode in. But yes. The twist, I will say, the twist here featuring primarily the Time Lord that is in a certain one's place, and just how twisted and dark the ending of it is.
Oh yes,
I really liked that.
Remember, we're doing spoilers. You can go into detail.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Who Am I is essentially what if we did the Leela's debut story, The Face of Evil, but it's the Master instead. Yeah. Not the Doctor, the Master instead.
Would you like an acid drop?
Would you like an acid drop?
Don't have those ones though.
Don't have was it the yellow ones? Don't have the yellow ones? Or
what was the other color?
One? Well, there was one that killed someone, didn't it? Like burned him? Yeah.
And then the other one was just a candy.
It's just a normal candy, yeah. But essentially this story is just Face of Evil with differences. Only I'd say some slight differences until the end when it's very different, because it has to tie into this whole the Doctor of War, the Warrior universe, the Time War that they are fighting in.
Yes, and a lot of that feels just kind of empty. It's all there just for this major twist at the end, and I do love the twist. You don't go in expecting to hear what happens to Leela happening. You don't expect it. And so with how damn dark they go ahead, you're having kids, by the way. I've arranged all of this so that way I can have the next evolution, which they're going to help me to create Adam and Eve, he calls them, to create the next generation, and he'll have the perfect warrior race. And it's very cool. I like that. I really do. But it's almost immediately just not followed upon, is it? I can't remember in the next story.
And aside from that twist at the end, this really has nothing to do with the Time War that the Warrior is taking part in. Because the thing is, I really enjoyed this episode, but it just feels so out of place until the end. It's just a random story. Unlike the ones in the previous box set where it is connecting to the whole establishing the Warrior.
Yeah.
Everything is to establish the Warrior in this new messed up fractured timeline and their own version of the time war.
I can see what they were going for, because it's very much like the twist of the first story of the previous one, where you're following actually the real Sixth Doctor, and he ends up dying. It's a dark twist. You're hearing the Doctor just perish for this other one, but here it's just it verges on torture porn.
Yeah,
and then
I feel like this is a story that would fit more better in like the War Master, because the whole point of the War Master is just to explore just what is he doing in the time war, and just how that everything is just his attempts to assist his people or just do his own thing, and the time war is just a setting in there, because that's what that's the feeling I got with this, because it's the Master and he's just doing all these things and just to lead up to I'm just making super soldiers for the time war, because it just felt it really has nothing to do with essentially the universe of Doctor of War until the end, especially
leading into the one that I know you're dreading.
Yeah, so
Time
that was
Killers.
So we really liked Who Am I, despite it being like kind of really weirdly out of place. I'd still think it was a somewhat good opener. But then it goes downhill with Time Killers by Lizzie Hopley. So now we actually have properly the warrior in this story. But it's weird. It's weird because he's still kind of the second character in the story, because it's mainly focusing on the Master, which I would be okay with. I'm a huge fan of the Master, but this whole box set is about the warrior.
Yeah.
There should be more of a focus to him. But this story is probably the worst one in this box set. I cannot remember anything.
It's a
nothing
time
about
heist.
It. It's a time heist. But I don't know. There's nothing in the story stood out except maybe just the little part in the end.
Yeah, because the Doctor pretty much ditches the Master, who has grown to somewhat care for how they leave things. And he's like, "Oh, I've no use for you anymore," and kicks him out, and he's just abandoned. And there's something in there about the planet maybe being destroyed, so the Master might not even survive.
No,
and
yeah. Well, I'll let you know the Sacha Dhawan's Master is coming back despite the whole planet being destroyed.
Yes.
And him being literally there when the explosion goes off. So.
Yes, but this one, he actually cared about something, so that's a bad sign for the Master.
Yeah.
But that's all it is. It's very weak otherwise. Like, they're on Marinus, but nothing about it.
Where's the vaults?
You might as well have placed it anywhere. You could have made up a new planet. It's such a weak connection, and it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, because usually with Lizzie Hopley, she's a writer that comes up every now and again with Big Finish, and the majority of the time I do like her stuff. They're either just okay or good, but with this one, there's unfortunately nothing to it. There's nothing about the story that stands out. It's the weakest part of this box set. Yeah. Of a box set that we're going to talk about overall later on, but like our thoughts on it. But I don't know, I just didn't really connect with this story. I was just like, can this just hurry up? I got one more story to listen to. Like, can this hurry up?
Literally. There were parts of it that I liked. Whenever Colin, the Sixth Doctor, the warrior, is talking to the Master, like in the previous story and in this one, it's almost like he's a companion that he's annoyed with. So that's fun. That's enjoyable. But everything else is just kind of pathetic. And with that honestly kind of leads into the Key of Time.
Yes, so
what a title.
Yes, our finale to this box set, and to overall, it seems to be with Doctor of War, is The Key to Time by Tim Foley. So they weren't done with just doing like rehashes, essentially, of previous stories. You essentially had a version of Invasion of Time in the last story of the first box
The-
set.
Especially with this, it feels like they should have just paid Tom Baker what he wanted and had him continue playing Evil Doctor, because it was pointless to have him regenerate. Honestly, he takes that dark turn. I do have the right, and they should have just kept it because it's just his stories with a twist. And you have to, in the first box set at least, they had interesting ideas that expanded beyond that, with like the Daleks, the twins, being one of the last Daleks there and stuff like that. It's absolutely enjoyable. But the key to time has Davros basically as a companion of the warrior, and most of the adventure like you could pass through, and ultimately it just makes Davros and the warrior care for each other. No, you can't do this to him. And it ends with the warrior not dying, but realizing, wait a minute, I can care, I can feel again.
Yeah.
Call
I'm the
me
doctor. I'm the doctor.
That's the worst part of this, and it's not poorly written. I don't think this episode's poorly written.
I kind of enjoyed this story more than Who Am I until that end, because the end breaks the fourth wall. We're telling you now, it breaks the fourth wall. It gets really confusing.
Let's do that again, Colin.
Yeah, let's do that again, Colin. It gets kind of confusing, and the warrior just suddenly is like being like, okay, I've messed up. I'm going to return to being the doctor again. That would only have worked if there was actually more build up. We have the build up of him, like, this is now the status quo of him being the warrior with the first box set. With this box set, you don't really see that. You don't see him
because he's not the star. He is not the star of his own show. Yeah,
but regardless of that, I did like the whole like teaming up the warrior and the Davros together to find the key to time. There's a nice little mention of young Davros meeting the 12th Doctor.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
that was
he
good.
mentions that. That was a nice little thing I picked up on. No, but I did really enjoy the story. It's the one that at least stood out to me.
Yeah.
In this box, even if it was essentially we're just doing our own version of the Key to Time arc, but I did like it. The dynamic between the warrior and Davros was great. I'd say the villain, the president, was particularly weak.
Yeah,
I thought it was Barusa until it's not. It's like
it sounded like it, didn't it? It really
like,
did.
Is this like new regeneration? Did he regenerate again? Is it a different Barusa? It's only just named as the president until we get the reveal of like, oh, we're Romana. We're like different versions of. We're part of. What was it? The collective of. I can't remember the title of that group, but they're like fractured. They're like fractured beings because of the time war. So they're all like different versions of the same person, like put together. So the president was just a different versions of Romana put together. So yeah, the villain of that story is particularly weak. I still like that story overall. It really the dynamic between the warrior and Davros is what really keeps it going. Like their end together is I really liked.
But I ultimately do enjoy that. Because at the end here, I have to make sure. The doctor, it's not Tom Baker, even though it should be, because he wakes up and he's like,
yeah,
Harry,
Sarah,
you're here. Oh, well, no, we'll keep adventuring. Yes, give me the time ring. And they treat him like he's the doctor. So it goes ahead and makes it nebulous whether or not this is supposed to be like the whole point of Unbound is that you are telling stories. What if this? And to go ahead and twist that into well, maybe it's just a fractured time that gets fixed. I don't like that. I don't. I think after that, though, there's this bit where it is the warrior, at least it sounds like it, far more tired, talking about, is this the end? Is this the point? What happens when they stop listening? Because it goes ahead and makes us part of the story, too, because they're a story. It's giving me Tyrion vibes. Who has the greater story than Bran? Anybody else?
Literally anyone else, yeah.
So here, it's just... I'm just disappointed. And I think that goes for the box set overall. Because you're supposed to give us the warrior. While the war doctor, everybody's like, oh, well, they're making the war doctor kind of weak. Like, he's supposed to do... I understand the moment is his dark point, but people will go ahead and say, we want to see him being grittier, darker. This is supposed to be the absolute darkest the doctor can get. He is supposed to be worse than the master. He's supposed to be worse than the war doctor. He's supposed to be the ultimate evil, as it were, for a good cause. And they chicken out. That's what they end up doing.
Because we see more of that in the first box set.
Yeah.
Especially with the last story. With him just creating an office that stops people from trying to prevent all of this from happening.
Yeah.
And then also him hunting down versions of himself because they can't exist.
That was cool. That was so cool. But for here, like, I think I gave the previous one, I think you went a little lower, but I think I gave that a 9. It was really solid.
I think I might have given it something similar, yeah.
The problem with it was that it didn't properly end. It did not settle. It needed its second part. But now we have the second part. We've listened to the second part. We did not need the second part because the second part went ahead and pulled the rug from under the first part.
And it felt like it didn't continue anything because that was my biggest expectation with the end of the first box set. It's like, okay, there's this huge alliance that the Daleks have created.
Yeah,
because of the warrior. I thought that was going to be the second box set. It's just like him having to like deal with the alliance or like getting ready to fight them, but this was just random stories.
And
at least with the first box set, sure, you could say they were essentially random stories because they don't really connect to one another. Well, they do. It's all a progression of like showing like this is the warrior. Like, this is who he is. But with this one, it's just like they
killed the warrior.
Yeah, with this one, there is no kind of showing the whole like the warrior is now sick and tired. He's grown older, and he just wants it to be done. And maybe he's decided maybe I made the wrong decision when I was the fourth Doctor. We don't get that. It feels
it wasn't earned.
It just was not earned, and I would have liked these stories to be a bit more cohesive leading into that. But no, you have a story. You have the first story where it's the Master is the main character. Now, I love the Master, but this isn't his box set. The second story where again the Master is the lead, and you have the Warrior as the second.
And if you told me that this was actually the third box set and there was a secret second box set where he actually takes down the collective of all the enemies that want to go ahead and destroy him, I would believe you. Absolutely, because there's something missing here. It's like they went ahead, had the first written out, and they're like, this is good. Who's working on the second one? Oh, nobody from the first. They're just doing whatever the hell they want. With the mind, evil Doctor.
Let me actually even double check who the writers are.
Oh, the first one? Yeah.
It's not even the same writers. Yeah, John Dorney, Lou Morgan, and James Kettle on the first box set.
I didn't have the interviews able to be accessed to me. I wouldn't listen to them now because I don't see the point. I'm so disappointed with that. And it's not that the performances are bad. Leela is fantastic. Like her whole, no, please, those are my children, don't take them. And the master just being such a son of a bitch. Jeez. With that, it's great. But what this is supposed to be, the point is totally missed. They forgot what they were doing, and they screwed up. They forgot that this is the doctor of war. This is the warrior. They forgot that. So they said, kill the warrior, make him the doctor again. Yippee!
Yeah, and like I said, it all goes back to my expectations of at the end of the first box set. It just felt like it was going to deal with that alliance, and maybe having I think it would have been much better just having Barusa be the main villain of a second box set, because he's the president now. From at the end of the first box set, he was made president, so have him be the main antagonist would have been much better. It really felt like they were setting up Romana to be his companion.
Oh yeah, Romana. I remember now. It's been a while since that first one released. So
yeah,
some of the details are faded on me. They're foggy. But I still remember loving that one so much. It was everything it was supposed to be. The problem was that there wasn't a proper finish to it. There wasn't a point where this is the end. And now we have they just honestly should have tried to wrap up in that first box set, make one more story, face the alliance, and have some dramatic dark twists where the warrior goes on, because it's Unbound. This is not the Doctor. They go ahead and make that very important in that first box set. He has killed himself multiple times because he cannot allow the Doctor to survive. And here they just
and even with Unbound, I would say the majority of them don't even really have proper endings. Some do, some leave it up to okay, maybe we could have further adventures with it, or even bittersweet endings or sad endings, with the Valyard one, He Jests with Scars. It does not have a happy ending.
No, and you don't need one.
It ends with him now just by himself. He is stuck with his mistakes, and he doesn't know when he is going to end.
I haven't listened to that one yet, so that's really good.
That's a if you want a really good Unbound story, that's an amazing one. But with this one, it's just we have to give it an ending that returns to zero. It goes back to point one. I just felt no. And like we've been saying a lot, if you wanted him to go back to being the Doctor, fine, but you needed to develop that. Because doing that in one story, where in the previous story he just fucking leaves the Master to die because he's not useful to him anymore.
I'm done with you. Goodbye.
Yeah, that doesn't work like that. To suddenly have him he's still the warrior, but now just towards the end he's okay, maybe I don't want to be the warrior anymore. I'm going to go back to being the Doctor, because that's who I really am.
And now I am depressed. With a hopeful ending, I am depressed. That's what it makes me. I was just expecting a lot. And, sometimes we can over-expect, raise our expectations to limits that, that's not a good way for us to go ahead and put it in this direction. I disagree here. I think they absolutely knew where they needed to go. They just did not care to take that turn. And you can write as meaningful as you want as that ending to be, oh my gosh, I'm not as dark as I once was, and stories are important, and who I am in each life. I'm sorry, I do not need that from this. Of all the stories to give me that I'm the Doctor, and that's what's important, this is not the story to do it in. And to do it in this one was disgraceful, and I'm just disappointed. Oh,
So, what would you rate this box set?
I think the performances are all very good. But my disappointment in each story, I think I have to go like 5.5, something like that, because they are good. They are good. I can't say that they're poorly written. The second one, while it's kind of forgettable, still there are key moments in there that were pretty fun. But it's just not. It's not good. It's a total just. It's distasteful, and so 5.5. I think I'll go. That way, I can be generous with how good the performances are. I like the elements, and it's written well. It is, even though it's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I would honestly have to give it the same rating. 5.5 out of 10. Just a lot of wasted potential. It, even with like me liking two of the stories, it just, I don't know. It's just,
They failed.
It just clearly seemed like they were setting something up in the first box set, and then for this one they're just like, yeah, let's just forget that.
Yep.
It's like, okay. And then like the development of the warrior going back to being the Doctor was not developed at all. It just came out of just nowhere with the last story. I don't know. But the performances, I'd say, definitely a highlight. I think everyone did a fantastic job. It's just when it came to the actual stories, the story itself, and to end the Doctor of War story, it ended on a whimper.
Yep. It started with a bang, ended with whimper.
Started very, very well. Fantastic box set. That's even with the disappointment of this, I'd say that first box set is still amazing.
It's still a 9 for me. That first one was everything that I wanted, and they just did not live up to that. So to go from a 9 to a 5.5 is just really bad. But yeah, it doesn't change the fact what I listened to with that first one.
Now, this was their return to Doctor Who Unbound. Would you like to see more?
As long as they actually stick with it, yeah. I think that there's absolutely key moments like this. Like with something as big as Genesis of the Daleks. Do I have the right to decide that, yes, the Doctor does have that right, and he makes that dark turn? That's something that was worthy of 2 box sets. They may not have lived up to it, but it was absolutely an idea worthy of continuing. And there are moments that they could go ahead and do with that. If Tennant, after he's done with the 60th, obviously, if he's game for more Big Finish, there are moments there. Time Lord Victorious feels like such an underdeveloped idea. Like it was supposed to be big.
There is a Time Lord Victorious series here.
Yeah, but it's all over the place and feels like everything that it was supposed to set up feels like they dropped it halfway through. Like they forgot about it. And it was supposed to be him deciding that, yeah, he is the master of time, all that. And they forgot that. Like I haven't listened to all of them, or even read all of them, but I know that they aren't fully developed. Otherwise, that idea would be at the level of this. But there are moments they can go ahead and definitely push on.
Yeah, I'd be down with some more Unbound, because that's the beauty of What Ifs. There's so much you can do.
Especially
it doesn't even
finish.
And it doesn't even have to be just big moments. It could just be literally anything, because that's what the majority of like the original Unbound was like. It's just even concepts of like one of them is just, what if the Doctor like was his kind of personality was, what if the ends justified the means? And that was just the story of like that version of the Doctor. He would do anything for the good cause. It didn't matter if it was bad what he did, as long as it justified a good ending.
Something like that.
thing. But yeah, with Doctor of War, yeah, fantastic start, amazing start. A disappointing finish.
Not a big finish, a little.
Not
finish.
a big finish. Yeah, a disappointing little finish.
At the end of the night, she feels bad. You feel bad. It wasn't worth the time.
We all feel bad. She's going to tell all her friends, and I'm going to be embarrassed.
Gotta go ahead, hold the gun, think about it. But that's that, I suppose.
Yeah, that is it for our discussion/review of Doctor of War Destiny, the last of the Doctor of War Unbound series. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check out our weekly live streams, weekly sometimes, depending on situations.
1 week, major storm coming up. Oh, but it's the end. Okay.
Yes. And also make sure to check out any of my previous reviews, any videos that Pixel has done already or will be doing. I did a video recently. It's a personal one. Go check that out. But thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Alonzi.